How's it going, guys? My name's Will from Ghosthack, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some epic cinematic trailer music. Now, I was challenged to make a short cinematic track using only sounds from Ghosthack's Cinematic Trailer Sound Effects Volume 3. And well, it wasn't really that much of a challenge. The pack is really good. You should check it out, by the way, link in the description.
Jump cut.
So I decided to start this thing out at 135 BPM with this little pulse loop. And you can see in specific areas, I made the file unique and I actually pitched it up by 1. And there are other areas where I did some chops. Just to like keep it interesting and to keep it spicy. That's an important thing, especially when you're dealing with the quieter part of trailer music, is just minor details actually really go a long way. And they also keep it from sounding less loopy. Like, you know, someone just dragged a bunch of loops in and just plopped them down. Like, you actually have to construct something here. So I just kind of faded that in with a quick automation. And then I took this dark pad because I wanted to layer something atmospheric on top of this. It's just really droney. And you can hear I chopped it up in similar ways. And like changed the pitch around as well. And here's where we start to get fancy with the sound effects. I start out the track with this little thing, because it kind of had a little scream sound in it. I really liked that. And you can see I took some whooshes and reverses. There's a braam in here as well. Ooh, that just sounds good. Those are all sounds from this pack, by the way. Then we got like a smaller bit here. And then a reverse to kind of carry us through. And you can hear how all that sounds. Like, that sounds really good together. And then you can listen to this transition. But I wasn't done. I actually added a few more effects. I mean, this is primarily an effects pack. You can hear different sounds like this. Ooh, we have a little synth growl down there. And we have a bigger riser. So you really know the tension is building up at this point. And people can scoff and talk about how these samples are just dragged in, but let me tell you something, it takes skill to be able to put these together in good ways. That sounds epic. But there were a few more drums I wanted to add here as well, a little extra percussions. We have the classic just ticking clock that I can kind of pan back and forth. And we have some more little bigger percussions. And I added a little bit of a chorus to them. And lastly, what I added to this little section here before we go into a bigger, heavier part is I created this little synth line. Which is kind of a mixture of minor and major keys. It makes it sound almost like Arabic or Egyptian. And what I did here is actually, this is actually a horn Braam stab that I stretched out really long using this stretching method. And then I decided to just play it really high. And I put some auto-tune on it as well to make sure it wasn't getting too out of whack. And I actually used a technique like that a couple of times in this track. But here is where I started to get some cool ideas. Now, I'm a kind of an intense guy. I like intense music. I like making intense stuff. So I wanted to make this a little higher in energy. I wanted to make it a little more epic. So I started creating this pattern using some of the sounds that we already had. We have this pad, which is just that drone that we went over before. We have this guy, which is also this kind of slowed down Braam thing. And then we also have this guy, which sounds just like an impact just at the beginning, but it is also a Braam. I'm just gonna call it a Braam. Maybe correct me in the comments below if it's a Braam, but I'm just gonna say Braam. But that obviously was not enough to get the point across. I needed some big drum hits and some percussion loops happening right here. And that layers with these just beautifully. But those hits right here, those more melodics, like those hits that have tone, they still were not loud enough, so I needed another layer. And what I used for this layer is actually yet another Braam, but this is more of a synthy Braam. It's meant to sort of sound digital, and I've layered it like this. But I didn't want to just do that either, so I got a little fancy with the pitching, and I created this pitch automation that is actually linked to both this that Braam down there and all of these other melodic pad elements as well. And this is the pitch, so you can see the pitch kind of sliding up in these areas. It's more of an intense pitch slide upward at the end there. And that I thought just made it sound really, really cool on its own. And lastly, I just grabbed a few assorted drum hits and sound effects to fill in those gaps. Like, that sounds cool. And so going into this bigger section, there's a lot of audio files here. Going into this bigger section, I actually wanted to repeat a lot of what I already had. Because I thought it sounded really good, and it added some more little cool sound effects in between there, like that, which is actually this percussion loop, just sped up really fast. So get creative with these loops, man. And I brought this guy back, of course, because it's so aggressive. I love the crunch behind that, as well as bringing back those miscellaneous like drums and sound effects. But I went even harder and more ham on this ending here. Ooh. And just off right there. I'm kind of in the way here. There we are. But I also really like this loop, which again is this one, just sped up to move faster. So there's actually 3 versions of that one loop, and if I play them all together, it actually sounds really cool. Here, hold up. Like, that's all from one thing. And here I actually brought back that melody that we created earlier, except it has a layer to make it a little stronger. And to have a carrying melody that sort of carries you through parts like that is actually a really, really useful thing. And because we have the melody going, I actually didn't continue the pitch automation of those big Braam hits up and down, like sliding up in pitch. I actually took that away because it became really hard to key that. And it was awesome when there was no melody on top of it, but when the melody came in, had to cut that out. But I didn't stop there either. This other synth loop right here, actually came from this little synth lead sound that can be found in the pack, obviously. And I put that in a sampler. I made sure it was pitched correctly, and I created this little chord pattern. I just went really high up in the piano roll. And you can hear I kind of made a filter peak go wow up across the spectrum. It sounds a lot better in the synth instead of my voice. And that actually went really well with this melody. Ooh, that just works. I like that. And to end the whole track here, I really didn't actually do anything crazy. These are just some miscellaneous different hits like this. There's a kick, a sub boom, there's the growler again. We have the scream that we started out with. So it all just kind of ends on a nice impact. So now that you've heard the individual bits on their own, it's time for me to play you the final result. So that is how I would go about making a short cinematic, I forgot to turn that light on. A short, epic, intense, cinematic trailer track using just the sounds from this pack.
The Cinematic Trailer Sound Effects Volume 3.
You can check that out if you want to. I had a lot of fun working with it, and I had a lot of fun making this track. So thank you all so much for watching. I wish you all the musical inspiration you desire, and I will see you in the next video. Happy producing.